In an urban area, a sexy woman was seen riding a motorcycle speeding towards a place. After reaching the place she was going to, the woman then parked her motorcycle. The woman turned out to be the crazy woman, and the place she was going to turned out to be Jichen's residence. After knocking on the door for a moment, Jichen then immediately came out to greet her. The woman then asked him, why did he call her this early in the morning? She was getting ready to go to the stadium for a morning run. Jichen said that it was no big deal, he just wanted her to see the apartment he had just rented. After entering and looking at his new apartment, the woman then in a complimentary tone said that this was not bad. Hearing that, Jichen said that it was only natural, the rental fee alone is up to 5,000 to 6,000 per month. Upon hearing that amount, the woman said that he really knew how to enjoy life. She also mockingly asked, is this how he spent her gym membership fee that she lent him? Upon hearing that, Jichen pretended to agree and said, he has no way to pay her back anyway, it's better to just spend it all as soon as possible so that she can forget about it. Hearing that, with a sharp gaze, the woman then moved, and locked his body. She was really angry after hearing his words, you heartless bastard, he even dared to cheat her gym money. Jichen was completely out of breath as she angrily choked him, and as the woman was about to beat him up and make him her punching bag, Jichen then tried to stop the woman named Renlan, but Renlan was already very angry at this time, but she suddenly blushed, when a bulge suddenly stuck out of Jichen's pants and hit her. They then fell silent for a moment. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Renlan was then very angry with him. How dare he take advantage of her? Seeing her about to throw a punch at him, Jichen then immediately said that he didn't mean it, don't talk nonsense. But their fight suddenly ended when they heard someone knocking on the door. It was from the courier who delivered the gaming cockpit that Jichen bought. He asked him to please open the door. Hearing that, Jichen then asked the courier to wait for a while. He then explained to Renlan, he made some money in the game and bought her a gaming cockpit. He asked her to listen to him first, otherwise he would immediately return it. Renlan's heart immediately blossomed when she heard that. She then said that he didn't need to return it, since he had already bought it, he shouldn't send it back. After finally managing to calm Renlan down, Jichen then asked, one gaming cockpit should be enough to pay back her gym money, right? He thinks this thing won't fit in the university dormitory, and if he put it in her house, her father might destroy it, so Jichen then suggested, why don't she just put it in his place, he already prepared a room for it. Renlan laughed happily hearing that. She immediately agreed to it. She was so happy to get the latest gaming cockpit, she would take a picture of it and send it to her friends. Jichen was really dumbfounded to see her anger disappear just like that, but he then felt that it was natural, money could really solve 99% of the problems, therefore, he had to get back online soon and make more money. With that in mind, Jichen then logged into the game. When he came back online, he then saw his master sitting in the lotus position in front of him, looking at his cultivation results. The master then praised him, his talent was the best she had ever seen. He almost achieved a breakthrough in just a few hours. Hearing that, Jichen then thanked her for the praise and said, it's just that he is currently stuck at the early stage of chi refining and is not sure how to make a breakthrough. He also thought, usually, a special elixir is needed to break through each stage. He will test it first and see if his master has an elixir that can help him break through the stage. Hearing that, his master then said that she had a high-quality chi condensing pill. She told him to take this and he would be able to break through to the intermediate stage. Jichen then thanked his master. He was very happy because this is an elixir that only the best sects have. The master then warned him, his talent may be very high, but he must understand, a real strong person not only has a high cultivation realm, but also has experience through hundreds of battles. Hearing that, Jichen realized that what the master meant was that flowers grown in greenhouses are not suitable for the path of cultivation, while large trees grown in the midst of storms can gain eternal life. He already knew in his previous life that this game has a very high degree of freedom. Your cultivation realm can be improved by buying equipment with money, but combat experience can only be obtained through real combat. The master was quite surprised to hear his words. It is not easy for someone to have such an insight. It turned out that he was more down to earth than she imagined, and the thing that Jichen was so looking forward to finally happened. His master's favorability to him increased by 5. Jichen was then very happy to see that, if this continues, it is not impossible for him to conquer the sect leader. He then imagined such a future. But he then immediately told himself to stop fantasizing. He again set his heart, in this life. He wanted to be the #1 sword cultivator. How could he get involved in love? After explaining all that, the master then told him to go to the sect mission area in the outer hall and choose a mission with chi refining stage difficulty. Once the mission was completed, this spiritual pill will be his. Hearing that, Jichen understood. Before he left, the master said that she would teach him the Tianyan Heart Sutra, which is a heart technique that all disciples in the Tianyan sword sect learn. The more he cultivated this heart technique, the more benefits he would get. She hoped he would try to be more diligent in cultivating. While receiving the technique scroll, Jichen then thanked his master. He was quite happy, although this was a heart technique taught to all disciples, but the outer hall disciples had to complete the mission to learn this while he did not need to. After that, Jichen then headed to the outer hall of the Tianyan sword sect. After arriving there, he then saw many players who had apparently joined the sect, but he felt that it made sense. Although the sect's invitation mission was hidden, the mission could be found if you were smart enough. It was likely that soon there would be many people who joined this sect, but it didn't matter to him, because he had seized the opportunity and became a direct disciple of the sect leader. But just as Jichen was about to head to the mission area, someone suddenly called him from behind. That person was Wanling. She was now with one of her subordinates. They did not expect to see him here. Seeing her, Jichen thought, Su Wanling really entered the sword sect after buying information from him. He felt that this was not bad. The more friends he has, the more options he gets. Maybe she can ask for him help in the future. Jichen then approached her and said that this is a coincidence. He asked, did she also enter the sword sect? Wanling replied yes, she likes using swords, so of course she chose to enter the sword sect. Jichen didn't talk to her for too long. He said that he still had to complete the mission. So let's talk next time. Wanling was then disappointed to hear that. She hadn't even finished talking and he had already left. Hearing her disappointed tone, her subordinate then said that handsome man was very cold. It seemed like it would be difficult for her to get him. Wanling blushed to hear that. She then irritably mixed with embarrassment asked, which eye of yours tells you that I'm chasing after him? Her subordinate chuckled at that. She then jokingly said, so she was wrong, huh? She really regretted that. She wanted to see a good show about a woman chasing after a man. Wanling seemed to have had enough of her teasing. She then told her not to procrastinate anymore and finished the mission as soon as possible. They still need 3 merit points to exchange for Tianyan Heart Sutra. She understood. They have been doing missions since they joined this sect and they still need 3 more merit points. She felt that this was too difficult. Hearing her complaints, Wanling then said, what kind of person can get the Tianyan Heart Sutra so easily? But what she didn't know was, there are indeed people like that. Jichen himself was now reading and pondering the contents of the Tianyan Heart Sutra that his master gave him while waiting in line. After a while, he was finally called by the receptionist. Jichen then immediately came to her and said, disciple Lin Jichen came to accept the mission. The receptionist blushed slightly when she saw his handsome face. She then let him choose the mission. She suggested to choose a mission that suits his ability. While looking at the missions displayed there, Jichen thought, the simplest mission is to collect some mortal herbs, but other than gaining experience points, there are no others. This is just a waste of time. The mission placed higher is a little more difficult, but the mission is only hunting monsters that are in the chi refining stage and does not help much in gaining combat experience. After looking at it for a while, he was then surprised to see that there was a special mission placard among the hellish difficulty missions. The mission was carried out in Fengsu City. Without hesitation, Jichen then chose that mission. Special missions can unlock special rewards, and he has already learned the Tianyan Heart Sutra. All his fighting attributes have increased by 5%. With his familiarity with Fengsu City, he can try to do this mission. The mission description tells him to help Tianyan Sword Sect to find the sect's lost secret technique. The difficulty of this mission is very high. Low realm disciples should choose carefully. Mission description: a chi refining realm disciple of Sword Sect, Zhang Hai, was killed outside and the secret technique he had was stolen. Avenge Zhang Hai and retrieve the lost secret technique. He will get 100 spiritual lower grade, 100 sect merit points, 1 upper grade chi condensing pill, 1 spiritual grade martial arts skill, as well as a hidden gift as a reward for completing the mission. Seeing as he took the mission with the difficulty of hell, the receptionist then told him nicely that this mission was very difficult. Did he not want to think about it anymore? The person who killed Zhang Hai was most likely someone in the late phase chi refining stage, which was much higher than his realm. Moreover, the sect forbade disciples to choose a new mission if they still had a mission they had not completed. Hearing that, Jichen then thanked her for her warning, but he had already decided he would take this mission. Seeing that, the players around were surprised. Was he kidding? The mission clues were written very clearly that the opponent was in the late chi refining phase. How would he complete this mission? Putting aside the enemy realm, the clues about this mission were too few. Finding the killer is like looking for a needle in a haystack. As the saying goes, showing off gets you killed. They decided to wait and see what will happen to Jichen later. Jichen just smiled slightly hearing that. A while later, it was already nighttime. He finally arrived at Fengsu City. When he got there, he then headed to a place in the city. This is the key to completing this mission. Seeing him who can fly and look so elegant, people there then guessed that he was an immortal from the Tianyan sword sect. Beautiful and sexy women then came out to welcome him. The place looks like a tavern. As Jichen went inside and ordered a drink, he then saw someone who seemed to be preaching something. The sect leader of Xuanwu Daoist Temple has broken through the realm of divine transformation today. The power of Xuanwu Daoist Temple has increased once again. The Fairy of 100 Flowers from Polar Sky Valley and the Grand Elder of Crimson Sun sect happily tied the knot and became Daoist companions. What a powerful alliance. That person was the intelligence merchant of the Eight Wasteland. It was a profession like a reporter in the real world. He knew all the small and big things in the Eight Wasteland. His job was to tell everyone the latest news all the time. If he listened patiently, he would definitely get a clue for his mission, until finally, the intelligence merchant then reported something related to his mission. The Tianyang sword sect disciple at the Qi refining named Zhang Hai had been killed while traveling, and the killer was Qi refining late-stage rogue cultivator Zhou Hao. He was a ruthless individual from the demonic path. After a while, after reporting all the events that happened recently, the intelligence merchant then left the tavern. Seeing that, Jichen then chased him and called him. He said he wanted to buy information. Most players will just go to the mission location when they get a clue, but he is familiar with this game method. If he wants more complete instructions, he must spend more money. Hearing him want to buy information, the intelligence merchant then stopped his steps. He confidently said, "As long as there is money, there is nothing he can't do." Li Si can't answer. Jichen did not mince words anymore and asked, "Where is Zhou Hao?" Hearing his question, Li Si explained, "Zhou Hao is a leech who is often seen in the Red District in Fengsu City. He can look for him there. There is other very important information for him, but it depends on whether he is willing to pay 5 spiritual stones or not." Hearing that, Jichen then immediately took a bag of spiritual stones and said that it doesn't matter. Seeing that, Li Si said, since he was so generous, he would give him a warning. Although Zhou Hao was just a rogue cultivator at the late stage of Qi refining, he had a brother named Zhou Shen. He was a cultivator at the Foundation realm. So he asked him to be careful. After getting that information, Jichen then went to the place Li Si mentioned. The place was the Autumn Moon building. The place looked like a brothel with lots of comfort women who were seen serving male customers. One of the customers of the brothel was a man named Mr. Zhou. He left the place after being drunk and served by beautiful girls. The girls asked him to come back next time. They would wait for him. Hearing that, Mr. Zhou asked them to wait for him patiently. He would make them queue up to satisfy him. He looked so drunk at the moment. He couldn't even walk properly. He was also the target Jichen was looking for. The moon illuminated the night sky. In a place with many lush trees covering it, Zhou Hao was seen walking staggering, but he then suddenly felt someone speeding towards him. He then asked, "Who's there?" "That person must be Jichen." He then replied, "The person who wants your life." Zhou Hao then took out his sword. He was not at all afraid to hear that. He even slightly underestimated him when he found out he was only at the early stage of Qi refining. Did he think he could get revenge just because he was a Tianyan sword sect disciple? He just delivered his life, with a slashing motion. Zhou Hao then immediately attacked towards him, but he was then shocked when he saw Jichen could avoid his slash easily. But his attack did not stop there. He then turned his body and made a torpedo-like movement, facing the attack. Jichen then attacked him back. His attack managed to knock Zhou Hao back. He was then shocked to see that. He was confused how he could be so strong when he was only at the early stage of Qi refining. Seeing his confusion, Jichen said, "It wasn't him who was too strong, it was him who was too weak." Jichen felt that the 5% increase in all fighting attributes after learning the Tianyan Heart Sutra was really great. Zhou Hao raised Jichen's threat level in his heart. He decided to be serious. He then used the wild saber slash, and threw it towards Jichen. Seeing the attack, Jichen didn't panic at all. He then used the spirit shield from the pendant given by his senior sister. This was the right time to try the effect of the jade pendant she gave him. When Jichen used the skill, a greenish barrier then enveloped his entire body. The barrier managed to withstand Zhou Hao's attack without difficulty. Seeing that, Jichen felt that this spirit shield was really useful. Zhou Hao was quite surprised to see that. He didn't expect him to have so many treasures. It seemed that he was quite pampered by his sect. He then ordered him to hand over everything he had and he would spare his life. Jichen really couldn't believe that such a weak cultivator would dare to blackmail him. Seeing him disobey, Zhou Hao then attacked him again. But his attacks were always successfully avoided by Jichen even though he had attacked him repeatedly. He really couldn't believe what he saw. He also realized that he couldn't continue this, otherwise, he would be killed by him. Zhou Hao then took a step back. Seeing that, Jichen snorted. He then slashed towards him. Zhou Hao was shocked because his one slash made him lose 90 HP. Although his cultivation realm was above Jichen. But his stat was still below him. Not stopping there, Jichen then attacked him vigorously with his sword. His HP was reduced a lot after being hit by so many of his attacks. After seeing Zhou Hao's status window, Jichen then realized it was no wonder he couldn't beat him. His attributes in the late stage of chi refining were so low, he was much stronger than him even in the early stage. Jichen's stat is really quite far adrift of Zhou Hao. Especially with the effects of the talents and equipment he is currently using that increase his stat even further. After repeatedly blocking Jichen's slashes overwhelmingly, he then finally got a fatal slash in his chest. He could only fall helplessly on the ground after receiving the attack. While pointing his sword at him, Jichen then told him to hand over the secret techniques of the Tianyan sword sect now. Seeing that, Zhou Hao then humbly said that it was his fault for not realizing his greatness. He would surrender and hand over everything now. But in the middle of Zhou Hao's surrender, Jichen suddenly felt someone attacking him silently from behind him. Realizing that, Jichen then immediately moved to dodge. The attack was similar to Zhou Hao's attack from much stronger. The effect of the attack even split the ground and separated the two of them. The person who attacked was Zhou Hao's brother. He was very happy to see his brother arrive. He then immediately asked him to save him. He also said to Jichen that he was really unlucky for meeting his brother. He would make him repay the injury on his body 100 times over. His tone was now completely different from his previous humble tone, but Jichen didn't care at all. He was now fully focused on Zhou Hao's brother, Zhou Shen. He was a cultivator in the early foundation building stage. After seeing him in person, he was stronger than he thought. Zhou Shen then scolded his younger brother. He had told him that nowadays all things are tense and stay in the mountain, don't go out, but he didn't obey. If he didn't realize he was lost and looked for it himself, he would die today. Hearing his brother's lecture, Zhou Hao then whined. He said if it was his fault, he would obey and not go, but he had to avenge him first. He beat him very hard. Hearing that, Zhou Shen then turned to Jichen and said to him, if he surrenders his spirit shield, he will consider leaving his corpse intact and make him die quickly, but if not, he will torture him so badly that he begs to die. Jichen just chuckled at his threat. Zhou Hao then asked his brother to wait for him for a while. He would eat the elixir and recover his stamina. He would help him deal with him, but before he could even swallow the elixir, Jichen suddenly quickly attacked him right in the neck. It instantly made him dying. His blood spurted everywhere due to the attack, and he then just died. Zhou Shen then got angry seeing that. With a smirk on his face, Jichen said, it seems like his brother didn't know that villain will die faster when they talk too much, and also, his target today from the beginning was to kill the two of them and take home the good stuff. Now it's your turn, Zhou Shen.